Hello guys, Nathan here with a Minetest Modding tutorial, and today we're going to be looking at Wield scale, basically what it is and how to use it. So I have prepared by creating a extremely simple mod. In fact, it's so simple it only contains a blank in its Lua file and a depends txt, which depends on default. So let's jump right in. As always, we are going to be creating a node, surprisingly enough, and we are going to call this Wield sample 1. I know, very creative and original name. Whoops, let's put the curly brace in. It's been a minute since I've done one of these. Description's just going to be first sample. Tiles, because we are depending on default, we can use anything that comes in default, so curly braces there, and we're just going to use default brick.png. And then let's see here, I guess we should add some groups to it, otherwise we're going to end up with a node that we can't do anything to, which, you know, isn't necessarily a good thing if you ever want to dig the node. Yeah, it doesn't really need any sounds or anything. I'm kind of just copying off of an A4 prepared cheat sheet here. The Wield scale. Now this is where all the magic happens, guys. Oh, I should mention, this tutorial brought to you by an individual on YouTube that requested it. I forget what his name was. As I always tell people, if you want to request a mod review or a tutorial, which I haven't mentioned before, swing on over to my website, nathansalpat.com, and request it there, because then it's all saved on file as to who requested it, and I can give you proper attribution and credit. Alright, so here we have sample 1, description for sample, we have some tiles set up, it's groups, we have our Wield scale. Now, before we jump into Minetest and see how this looks, let me just explain the Wield scale. We have 3 dimensions, x, y, and z. X is the depth, which basically is, it's kind of hard to explain without any sort of a 3D space to explain it in. But the depth is from you to as you're looking out. So the larger this number is, the farther the item is going to stick away from you. Y is your height. That's pretty easy, how tall the item is. And then Z is the thickness, which is how far across it is this way. So let's take a look at this one with everything set to half. So I've already got my test running here. I have a whole bunch of unknown nodes in my hand from when I was playing around with this before, trying to figure stuff out. Let's just chuck all of that. Jump over to the I forget what we used. Here we go. First sample. Oh, it's so cute. It's a little block. No, I am in creative mode, which is why I can place unlimited of these. So cute. It's a little baby block. Yeah, it kind of just floats there too because I don't have a hand holding it. Now, as you'll notice, this is only affecting what I'm holding. It affects nothing in the world. There is one block here. This is a normal size block. And as you see, they all display the exact same size and world. That is changeable by doing visual scale, which I had in my cheat notes and now is gone. Let me find that here. Visual scale. Okay. Now I don't know if this actually works on a full node. I'm going to assume it will not. Oops. I'm going to assume it will not, because that would mean that a node would place in a larger than node size. Yeah, so it does not work for nodes. It works for like plant types, things of that ilk, but not like an actual node. So here we have our sample 1. Now let's just because I'm lazy, let's actually just copy and paste that. And we'll call it Wield sample 2. And we'll change our description to the second sample. And you know, let's just set these to 1. So this will be the same as if we didn't have the Wield scale defined at all, because that is your default. And we're going to make another one. Whoops. Number 3, and we'll call it third sample. I know, very creative names here, guys. I try. And now this one, we're going to go like super overboard and do 4. Now, honestly, I have not tried 4 yet. I went up to 3 for one dimension when I was testing to see how these dimensions all worked. So this will be interesting. Now we'll notice, of course, everything in our inventory stays looking exactly the same. There's no differences there. They all draw the same size. That's our standard size, as we can compare with this. Whoa, okay. Yeah, that's probably a little big. Yeah, okay, that's actually really big. Yeah, that's really big. Alright, so that's probably a little too big, I'm thinking. So let's do something fun here. Let's put this back to 1. Okay, and let's put this one to 3. So it'll almost be like a door kind of a shape that we'll be holding here. You can't really tell too much. Here you can kind of see the top corner. So it's still the thickness of a normal node that would be holding, but it's still super tall and pretty deep this way. So let's change this more, because that's where you learn. Let's change this to like a 0.25. So it'll be a very narrow node. It'll almost be like holding a sword or something. Yeah, see, it's very narrow. Now it squishes the textures, of course, because we're doing this on a node size. So it's just squishing things to make them fit. Now, let's be honest, you probably don't really want to be changing the sizes of nodes because they still all place the same size. There's really no point in doing that. So, let's look at something that would make a little more sense to be changing the size of. And that would be a tool. So let's make one of these real quick. And we'll just call this Wield Tool 1. You know, just for simplicity's sake. And we'll call this first tool. Not frist. I mean, frist is cool and all. I don't know what that means. I hope it's not a word and it's something bad. That'd be sad. Okay, so let's make a tool here. We have a description. Do we need an inventory image? I don't think we do. Do we need a wield image? Yeah. Oh, wait, actually, no. Yeah, we are going to need an inventory image because that's not defined anywhere else. Inventory image. And, you know, we'll just use the default. I don't know why I just did that because you can't put those in file names. Tool diamond sword.png. That was supposed to be a comma, not an M. Okay, so we have an inventory image. Let us create the wield image because I believe we have to define both of these. I could be wrong. You may not need both. But hey, it ain't gonna hurt nothing to have both. And we'll be using the exact same image string here. Because after all, it's the same texture we're using. Okay, and then we need to, you know, do our wield scale here. Now, this is where it makes more sense to do wield scales. Because, let's say we want this sword to be, well, we probably want to stick with our normal for that size. Well, you know, let's put it 1.5. And then Y, we're going to have that, it's going to be very tall, too. And Z, I'm thinking we're going to stick with 1. Because 1's a pretty good size. And then, of course, we would have our tool capabilities. But, you know what, we're not covering tool capabilities here. So I'm just going to omit those. It should still work. Honestly, I don't know. It might give us an error. Unaccepted symbol near. What? Did I make a typo? Yeah, well, no, I didn't exactly make a typo. I just put a comma where I didn't need one because I'm an idiot. description and nil value. Did I type something wrong? Oh, forgot an equal sign. Those equal signs are important. Here we go. Okay. So let's jump over and find our diamond sword here. This is our first tool. Ooh. Nice. You know what we should have done, though? We should have made another one that wasn't larger. So actually, you know what? We can just grab a diamond sword right here. That's an undoctored. Here is our normal diamond sword. So it'd be all wield scale of 1. Now here is our bigger diamond sword. Now notice, if you can, which I think you can, they're both the same thickness. They're both that 1 pixel thick. This one, of course, is taller and a little bit deeper. Now, you wouldn't necessarily always want to keep all of your values the exact same. I'll show you what I mean here by switching all of these to 2. Basically, we're just going to make this sword that we created display twice as large as a standard sword, which looks really thick. Let's change the time to 6,000. And of course, someone had just told me how to keep the time stay the same. I think it was like set time speed 0. It's an invalid command, though. I don't remember what it was. I'll have to look that up. Anyway, a sword looks kind of weird being this thick. It looks more like it should do a clubbing action, not a cutting action, because it's so thick. Whereas this, it's thin. It looks like it should cut. So, on tools, I personally would say you probably want to keep your Z at 1. And you know what? You may want to make it a thinner tool to, you know, make it look more menacing. Does that look more menacing? And I don't know. I don't know if it makes it more menacing or not. Though I will say, it's not a... It probably looks bad on this size, but honestly, I don't think this one would look bad being a little thinner. But of course, it's all up to you, the modders, how you want to do that. So we just vary any of our wield scales here. We'll make this sword taller yet. We're gonna make the sword 3 tall, and I'm gonna put this back to 1 for no real reason, but. Whoa. Okay, now things get a little distorted at this height. Wow, and I can reach really far because I'm in creative. We'll notice that it's kind of hard to determine the edge between the little handguard and the actual blade because we're getting to a size where we're not seeing any background from there. Of course, you know what? You kind of have the same issue with this one. You do not see any handle with this sword while you do with this. While using the tool, you see it a little bit. Wee. So many different things. Now, if we go to an external view, yeah, we don't see anything because I don't have 3D armor enabled. Let me enable that and see if this works. And I honestly have no idea. I think it should. Okay, well, it's kind of hard to get a good side. Yeah, okay, no. My tool in hand stays the same size regardless. There's also a jump in the animation. Or not. I thought there was. It sure looked like it, and now it's not there anymore. There it was. Or just a jump. Oh well, I don't know what that's all about. So, if you're on a multiplayer, your tools are going to still be the same size to everybody else. I don't know why. Probably because 3D armor is not taking wield scale into account. Would be the most obvious reason. And I'm not saying that to diss 3D armor because there's really no reason to be taking that into account. It's not something that I have seen used too oft, so I wouldn't complain too much about it. Of course, if you wanted, almost died there. If you wanted, you could always modify the code if you knew what you were doing. I don't. And probably make it so it will display these larger tools. But there you go, guys. Especially the gentleman on YouTube who requested a tutorial on this. And again, I forget what your name was. And I'm not looking it up because I'm lazy. Yep, you heard it. You heard it from me. You heard it from the official professional. I am lazy. Deal with it. Well, that wraps up the Wield scale tutorial, guys. Hope you learned something here. Any questions, don't hesitate to drop me a line in YouTube comments or by swinging over to my website. Linked down in the description, as always. I'll catch you guys next week. Thanks for watching.